Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hi, Josephine. My dog's coming down the steps. What's up, girl? Okay, okay. What's up, Jojo? She never comes down here. What's up, girl? Come here. It's a little peculiar. JJ, welcome, my friend. Hey, come here, Joes. My dog came down to the office, the basement, and she never comes down here. She's sniffing around. I don't know what she's looking for. I might have to interrupt this broadcast to go take care of her. I don't know. Joes, you all right, girl? Come here. Come here. Come here. I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, my friends, welcome to what I learned this week, which is actually what I learned last week, because it was a whirlwind of a weekend. Come here, girl. It was a whirlwind of a weekend, and I was not able to get this episode out over the weekend, so I'm getting this episode out now in the wee hours of this week. Come here, girl. Come here. Come on, come on. Let's say hi to our friends. Let's say hi to our friends. Ooh, papa. Hi, everybody. My name's Josephine June Brenneman. I'm a little French bulldog. Sure, and I'm kind of crazy. What do you want to say, Joe? You want to read? You want to read the podcast? You want to read the paper of the podcast? All right, go upstairs, girl. So anywho, I'm gonna get cranking with this week's what I learned, and then this will be put right up onto my podcast feed. So you know the drill. Hop on iTunes, give a little subscribe. Give a little subscribe. Support the show. Support Spanny. Support the books. Support my guests. Support this movement. This movement. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen here is right now I'm recording what I learned this week, regular episode. Pero lo que voy a hacer después, what I'm going to do afterwards, is record tomorrow's Spanish episode, which is what I learned this week in Spanish. So that's going to be fun. I'm just going to riff here in English for a little while. And then I'm going to take a little break, do some little things, maybe take my dog for a walk. And then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to record lo que he aprendido esta semana para mañana, porque este episodio va a salir mañana. What the world? So first I'm going to do it in English, and then I'm going to do it in Spanish. Joes, what's wrong? What's up, girl? What do you need, girl? I don't know what's up with her. And then, yeah, so that's going to be fun. That's going to be weird. That's going to be a mind-brain teaser there. So what you can do is if you're an aspiring Spanish speaker, you can put this in front of you and follow along with tomorrow's Spanish episode, because you're going to know the context of what I'm saying, and that's going to help you to comprehend what I'm saying. All right, so I'm going to rock and roll here because I think my dog went to... I don't know if she wants to go for a W-A-L-K. Can't say that out loud. Or what? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let's do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another week of what I learned this week, except, kind of like a few weeks ago, this is what I learned this week, but it's actually what I learned last week, because I had a whirlwind of a weekend in which saw me traveling across several states in a car, in a plane, etc. So I was not able to record this episode. I could have done it on the fly. I could have done it in a hurriedly fashion, but I spoke it over with my advisor, Shaman Dread, and we kind of said, you know what, let's just wait till I have the opportunity. So that's why you're getting it right now. So it is what I learned this week, but it is again from last week. But what you can do is hop on over to charliespaniard.com, opt into my email list. You're going to get this document This leadership document, you're going to get it sent to you every Friday. And how and why do I say it's a leadership document? If you're listening to this show, the Spaniard Show, if you enjoy my content, whether it's AMX, the interviews, conversations, Speak Spanish with Spaniard, etc., you're a learner, right? You're a lifelong learner. You pay mind. You give credence to this thing of learning, and you give mind to this credence of excellence and the happiness of learning and the happiness of excellence and the happiness of hard work. And this document right here is going to help you lead more effectively because it's going to give you conversation points. You know, when you break it down, a lot of what we're studying, it's conversation, it's words, and those words can enact actions. And that's exactly what this document is meant to do, to use with your spouse, to use with your kids, to use with your team, to use with your class, to use with your organization. That's what this document is for. So I'm going to hop into, there's 7 bullet points in each What I Learned This Week documents and episodes. I'm going to hop into them. And it starts, you know, I finished off the book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. We have a Speak Spanish with Spaniard, which is an example, as I will explain to you. It's the development of a product. It's evolution. It's learning what works and what doesn't work. And it's on the fly. And it's kind of fun and exciting because there's the opportunity for success, but there's the opportunity for failure. And either way, Dred and I are going to regroup behind the scenes, talk it out, and move forward. And then I also have an incredible, absolutely incredible episode that was on the podcast. It was posted on Thursday with Richard Turner. And that's again, last Thursday's episode. Richard Turner is a world-renowned, world-famous card mechanic. Absolutely incredible story of not only persistence in mastering a craft, but when you learn the adversity that he has overcome in becoming a world-famous, world-renowned card mechanic, it will blow your mind. And there's a documentary called The Dealt Movie, which I'll talk about, which is on, it's online. I watch mine via Prime. You can go to Dealt Movie. I think it's dealtmovie.com. But you can search them out, watch that. And then I started a new book recommended to me by one of my former AMX team members, Ben. And Ben has recommended many books to me over the past couple years. And this one is Steve Martin's book. It's called Born Standing Up. And I am absolutely, I don't know if the word is enthralled. Dred, if you're listening or watching still on Facebook Live, could you let me know if that's the correct terminology, enthralled? I want to say I'm excited. I want to say I connect with his story, and I absolutely love it. Last quick reminder here is if you don't already follow my live streams, nearly everything I put up on the show, I put up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard. You're going to get the pre and post show AMX banter, excuse me, every morning, Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. It's fun. It's a community that's developing and evolving, and we're friends there. We talk before the show and after the show about the show. Facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard. Okay, the first bullet point and learning point that I want to extract here, you know, they came back from a mission, and Leif, one of the co-writers of the book, says this: upon returning from a successful mission, Leif states, we were lucky, but we had also made our own luck. I want to talk about that thing called luck. I love saying luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And in the PDF right now that I'm looking at, it says, say this 5 times. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I'm going to say it 5 times because you're going to at least hear it 5 times. And what I want this to ingrain in your brain is that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. 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 Make your own luck. They were successful. They came back from a combat mission. Everyone was successful. Excuse me. And he says, we were lucky, but we had made our own luck. That means they made their luck in preparation. They made their luck in the way they trained. They made their luck in the way they lived their life. You and I can and I will do that every single day of your life. Your luck is in your preparation. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Next learning point that I want to extract from the book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, is that idea of paralysis by analysis. You know, so many times you sit on an idea, or so many times you sit on a problem, you know, rather than taking action and solving that problem, taking action and moving a step closer to solving that problem, we sit there and we wait on it. And in the book, they say this: leaders cannot be paralyzed by fear. That results in inaction. Leaders cannot be paralyzed by fear. That results in inaction. Excuse me. Let me tell you something about fear. there's not a fight, there's probably not a minute of a fight in which I didn't have some sort of fear in my belly. But you learn to squash that fear. You learn to compartmentalize it. You learn to put it away from you. You're unable in the moment to experience that fear because it will result in inaction. And when you're in a fist fight, the last thing you want is inaction. When you're in a battle, a combat situation where it's life and death, the last thing you want is inaction. They do a great job in the book painting this picture that as a leader, you cannot be paralyzed by fear. That results in inaction. I don't remember off the top of my head, but they express it in such a clear and concise way that it's something like look around, be calm, make a decision. And that idea, like maintaining your wits, maintaining your level of emotions, looking around, assessing the situation, making a decision. When you're in a fist fight, like I said, I don't think I've spoken with anyone who has said they are not fearful or they do not experience some sort of anxiety. As many professional fighters, best of the world, I don't remember them. I don't ever remember hearing that. What I do remember hearing most poignantly by Kerry Collat, one of the best wrestlers to ever live, was that he said, I learned to compartmentalize that. I learned to filter out the fear and the self-doubt. That's exactly what you and I can do through practice and through repetition. And Jack Canfield, I studied Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, pretty extensively, very extensively. And one of the success principles is experience the fear and take action anyway. No one's exempt from it. Okay, no one is exempt from it. So if you're sitting there feeling fearful, if you're sitting there, thinking to yourself, I can't, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're actually like everybody else. Because, like I said, there are some outliers. There are some people who experience zero fear. I am not one of them, and I don't know one of them. But what we do learn to do is compartmentalize that fear and take action anyway. Now, the next bullet point I want to talk about comes from Speak Spanish with Spaniard. This show is a documentation. I'm chronicling what Dredd and I are building. And it's no secret that sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. Sometimes we have great ideas. Sometimes our ideas flop. But the name of the game is to keep going. Just don't stop. Keep going. Just keep going. Don't stop, as Phil Knight, creator of Nike, would say. So I took a risk with Speak Spanish with Spaniard. There are a lot of Spanish-speaking people out there. There are a lot of people who want to learn Spanish. But the truth was there were not a lot of people who were filling out the form on my website to tell me what they want to hear. So I had talked it over with Dredd, and we thought, what's an experiment that we can try to see if it gets traction, to see if you like it. So I decided to do what I learned this week, pero en español. So I performed lo que he aprendido esta semana, what I learned this week en español, and I talked about this content that I'm talking about right now, pero en español. And what it does for you, if you're an aspiring Spanish speaker, is if you have this document in front of you, I follow the same structure where I go point by point by point. So you understand the context of what I'm talking about. And while you might not understand each word, it gives you that much, it gives you a 20-yard head start to really comprehend what I'm saying because you know the context. If you listen to this episode first and then you listen to that episode, then you'll know, oh, he said this in that episode, he said this and that. Aha, I can piece together what he means. So one, it's a great piece of entertainment if you're a fluent Spanish speaker because you're going to get the same energy and fire that you get in the regular what I learned this week. And if you're a native speaker, you're going to hear a guy who's making errors, who doesn't care that he's making errors because he's trying his best. And that's what I want to pass on to you, future world's toughest lifelong learners, is that's the name of the game. And poco a poco, little by little, te mejoras. You get better. So last week was the first time, Speak Spanish with Spaniard 11, that I did what I learned this week in Spanish. Now, when I'm done with this, what I learned this week in English, I will record, and it will come out tomorrow, which is Tuesday the 8th, lo que he aprendido esta semana. So use this document to help you learn Spanish. Moving on, and I'm finishing up the book, Extreme Ownership by Jocko and Leif. So they speak about this idea of the dichotomy of leadership, and it's actually the next book that they're writing together. I believe it's released in September, The Dichotomy of Leadership. And I looked up the word dichotomy. You know, from a personal perspective, I get the words paradox and dichotomy mixed up, or I use them interchangeably when I think they shouldn't be used interchangeably. But a lot of times people say to me, like, you're kind of a paradox. You know, you're this fighter guy, but you also read books and you speak intelligently. You know, it's a paradox. But then I would be thinking, you know, when I give advice, such as, you shouldn't care what anyone has to say about you, or you really should care because there's people who love you and those people are honest with you and they kind of let you know where you stand. That's an example of a dichotomy. I don't listen to anybody. I follow my gut, which is true. I follow my gut. I don't listen to anyone, you know, in a sense, but then I do listen to a lot of people. Like I listen to Dredd, I listen to my brother, I listen to my mom, listen to my dad, listen to my family, my close friends. So that's an example of a dichotomy. And in the book, Jocko and Leif talk about the dichotomy of leadership, meaning as a leader, you must be this, but you must also be this. And the two thises are opposites. So the name of the game is experience and practice and training and reading and learning so that you learn to balance those dichotomies for the best possible product, the best possible leader that you can be. So two examples of dichotomy that they talk about in the book is confident but not cocky. You need to be confident as a leader, but you can't be cocky. You have to be convicted yet open-minded. I think that was one of mine that I thought of. But yeah, I have to be convicted like, no, I believe in this. I believe in this. I'm going to do it. But then open-minded to maybe Dredd saying, hey, Spaniard, this is a good idea, but maybe you should go about it this way. So those are two examples of dichotomies. So in your mind, if you're leading and you're developing, you're evolving, understand that it's not always just black and white. Sometimes it's black and white. And your job, our jobs as leaders, is to balance, is to traverse that frontier, that landscape as effectively as possible to produce the greatest chance of winning that mission. That idea of winning the mission as a leader from this book struck home and struck me in my heart and my soul. And it's something that I absolutely take with me every single day. The best for the mission, not the best for myself. So we're starting the book in this bullet point, Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. Now, Steve Martin, father of the bride, comedian, the jerk. I'm smiling because I'm thinking of all these movies. My wife absolutely loves Father of the Bride. And the jerk is like a classic. This guy is original. And tying that idea into this book was recommended to me by Ben from AMXD. And I got the book. I actually looked it up on Amazon before I bought it. And I looked at the back, and it says this on the back cover. It says this: Martin illuminates the sacrifice, discipline, and originality that made him an icon and informs his work today. You had me at discipline, sacrifice, and originality, Steve Martin, producers of this book. Sacrifice, discipline, originality. When I was talking to Ben about reading this book, he said, you're going to love it because it shows the dedication and the work that he put into perfecting or mastering his craft over the years. And there are several references. I'll probably talk about them next week and what I learned this week, next week, or this week. Whatever, it's just what I learned. But several instances, he says, it took me 10 years to figure it out. Or it didn't make sense to me for another 10 years. That's something special. That's called foresight. That's called delayed gratification. That's called persistence. That's called perseverance. That's called putting in the work now for something you don't even fully understand right now. But you just know, you're convicted in your gut, in your belly that this is the right thing. Sacrifice, discipline, originality. When I think of AM Excellence, when I think of this show, the Spaniard Show, I know, because I did it once with the UFC, that sacrifice and discipline and originality, they are key. You've got to differentiate yourself. You've got to sacrifice. You've got to give things up in pursuit of the things you want. And you've got to be disciplined. I can't tell you how many stinking Sunday mornings I get up at 6 or 6:30, drive from my then girlfriend, fiance, wife's house in Harrisburg to East Stroudsburg, drop my dog off, drive another hour to AMA Fight Club, get my face punched in for an hour, drive back, pick up my dog, and then drive back to Harrisburg. That's it. That's the name of the game. It was an 8-hour workday for 1 hour of training. That's the sacrifice. That's the discipline that you've got to employ. And you see it now with Conor McGregor. The originality is your best friend. And you know how you can best employ originality? By being yourself. You know, it was Diamond Dallas Page, whom I interviewed, who was a WWE, WWF superstar. He said it. He said Steve Austin, Dwayne Johnson, their characters, you know, Stone Cold and The Rock. He said that's those guys just amplified. What you hear me talking on this show and other shows, that's me at my core. It's just a little amplified, just got a little bit more energy. And what's that Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers says, the greatest gift you can give to anybody is the gift of your honest self. That's it, people. You want to be original, be you. You're the only you on the earth. You're the only you on the earth. If you're an identical twin, maybe there's a little asterisk there, but there's still two people. There's still two of you, which makes you the only you. Sacrifice, discipline, originality. Put them in your back pocket and don't forget them. Now, last Thursday's interview with a guy named Richard Turner. So I'm going to give you a couple references right here, right now. That if you go to my feed on iTunes, you'll see this. This is episode number 176. RichardTurner52.com, DeltMovie.com. Hop on Prime and type in Delt Movie. Watch this movie. If you're looking for fuel, if you're looking for entertainment, if you're looking for belief in yourself, if you're looking for connection that, yeah, I can do this too, you need to watch this movie. I was turned on to Richard Turner and to this movie and then to the eventual interview that I had with him by my brother-in-law, Mike, who said, oh my gosh, you've got to watch this. Oh my God. It was like, I think it was Easter weekend, and he came and he was like blown away by this content, by this movie, by this guy. He's like, you won't believe it. He practices 16 hours or 18 hours a day. He has cards in his hand all the time. He's lifting weights with one. He's lifting weights with one hand and shuffling cards with the other hand. It's absolutely incredible. And I took that energy and I said, I want to talk to this guy. So immediately as my brother-in-law's talking to me, I was like tweeting at Richard Turner at Delt Movie saying, I'd like to talk. Would Richard consider coming on my show? And then from there, I watched the movie, was absolutely blown away by it. And then I had this conversation with it. It was incredible. And Dredd pointed out something to me. So as the world's toughest lifelong learner, I've got to be two things. I've got to be tough, and I've got to be a dedicated lifelong learner. That's the name of the game. There is no other way. If I say that's what I am, then that's what I got to be. And so by way of Richard Turner's mentor, Di Vernon, who is, quote, the man who fooled Houdini, there is a little trickle of Houdini in what you're hearing today. That's the power of connection. You know, whether it's names escape me right now, Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon. There's 3 degrees of separation between me and Houdini. How stinking cool is that? You have just got to make that happen, and you can make that happen. But the backbone of all of that, the backbone of making all that happen is waking up every day, being disciplined, being original, sacrificing so that I can produce the best show on a daily basis so that if the opportunity comes where I can send a really awesome, interesting guy or girl or young athlete or whatever, a message, they're going to say, look at this guy's long list of hard work. I like that. I respect that. I resonate with that. Yeah, let's give this person a chance. That's what you can do too. It's not reserved for me. It's not reserved for anyone. That's actually how Richard Turner caught the eye of Di Vernon, his mentor, who at that time was the man, who at that time had fooled Houdini. So this is like world classness that we're talking about here. But Richard Turner said this, and this builds off a point that Steve Martin talks about with naivety. Right? Naivety, being naive, not knowing what you don't know. That's one of the most fabulous things that there can be is naivety, right? When I set out on the UFC, if I would have known, right? When I sat on my bed and said to my buddy, one day I'm going to fight in the UFC, if I would have known the amount of butt kickings that I would take on the way there by Frankie Edgar and Jim Miller and Dan Miller and all these other terrorists and Henzo's in New York and all these, and Matt Hughes and Dan Henderson and all these guys and George St. Pierre who just thralled me, right? I don't know what I'd have thought. But I didn't even know what I didn't know, so it didn't matter. I just freaking went for it. So Steve Martin talks about naivety and saying how crucial that is to early creativity. Richard Turner says the same thing. He says, I didn't know it wasn't possible. And this is upon his learning from Di Vernon. So Di Vernon, who was a master magician at that time, card mechanic at that time, he fooled Houdini. right? Which was like the biggest thing, right? Fooled Houdini. So then Di Vernon started teaching Richard Turner. But unbeknownst to Richard Turner, Di was teaching him things that Di couldn't do. He was teaching him things that were, up to that time, not done. They were impossible. But Richard says this, I didn't know it wasn't possible. He was on the top of the world for 60 years, but he pushed me to a level past what he had achieved and worked on himself. So there was this guy who saw this potential in another guy, didn't tell this other guy that, hey, I can't do this thing. Instead, he kept that to himself. And then he taught this guy this thing that he couldn't do. That's greatness. That's mastery. That's beautiful. That's connection. That's everything that I believe in, right, is putting in the work and then seeing that work in someone else and then helping that other person achieve things that you were not unable to achieve. I see it most as a father thinking, I want my kids to blow my experiences, my successes, I want them to blow it out of the water. I want them to go to levels beyond me. And that's what you see happening with Di Vernon, who taught Richard Turner. Turner didn't even know. He didn't even know that it was possible. And because of that, he made it possible. And the last thing I want to talk about here, back to Steve Martin. The following quote falls perfectly in line with the above quote, what I was talking about. Despite his lack of natural ability, Steve Martin had, quote, the one element necessary to all early creativity, naivety. Naivety, my friends. You don't know what you don't know. You might know it someday, you might not know it. But before any of that happens, before the realization of what you don't know or the non-realization of what you don't know, way before that even happens, start today. Start out working the competition. Start getting up early. Start doing the reps. Start doing the push-ups. Start doing the sprints. Start doing the honing of your craft. And then maybe someday it'll happen. But you don't even know that. And that's the beauty of possibilities. Stop your paradigms. You know, I operated in self-limiting paradigms for a long, long time. And then I got to the UFC. Actually, prior to that, I won a reality show, Pros versus Joes on Spike TV. And I thought, oh my goodness, my paradigm of not being really great at something, it's gone. It's blown away. I just blew it away because I got on and then I won this show. And that opened up the whole can of belief. And you can do that too, but you've got to start today. And you can only do it by turning pro. I haven't read the book yet, but Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield, it's a book that I will read eventually. But just take that idea of turning pro. Turn pro in whatever you're doing. As a teacher, as a father, as a husband, as a coach, as a worker-outer, someone who goes to the gym, start turning pro, my friends. And embrace that naivety. It's an adventure. We are in. We're going to go on an adventure. I think that's, what is that, Paw Patrol? I think that's what it is. Anyway, this has been what I learned this week. I sincerely appreciate you tuning in. I absolutely love this stuff. You can opt into, sorry, I just got a phone call as I was live streaming this. You can opt into my what I learned this week to get the PDF sent to you. You can check out my speaking events, scheduling speaking events for the remainder of the springtime and into next fall, charliespaniard.com/booking. My mission is to develop tough, lifelong learners. My mission is to develop tough, resilient, physically and mentally tough, resilient human beings who will not take no for an answer, who will not stay down, who will fight on. Be bold, my friends. We're gonna go on an adventure. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, my friends. So that was what I learned this week. And in a little bit, I'm going to take a little pause, a little pausa, a little pause. And then I'm going to come back here to the old suite. And I'm going to record this in Espanol. Now, this is tough. Recording two things with such energy is tough to do in one day, but I got to do it because it's got to come out tomorrow and ain't nobody else going to do it. So that's that, my friends. I will, Maybe I'll see you in a little bit. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow at AMX 477. 477. Facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard. Right here, 6:30 a.m. tomorrow. And then we have another awesome interview coming out on Thursday. Speak Spanish with Spaniard 12 mañana. We got everything coming to the show. Go to iTunes, search out Spaniard. Boop, click, boop, subscribe, sent straight to your phone. Be bold, my friends.